Good day everyone, and welcome to another impromptu episode of Walkabout Adventures. This clip is just going to be about what we've been doing over the past couple of years. Currently we're in lockdown, we're in, pardon me, in COVID lockdown. Where I live is in the Yarra Ranges, in the Yarra Valley, and as such we're part of the Melbourne metropolitan area. As a consequence of that, we are in lockdown, and we have been for the past 18 weeks. We have been on a couple of camp trips. We've been to the up on the Murray. I think it was last summer or the summer before, up on the Murray. We've been to past Kennington, the Goulburn River. Been there camping. Been camping to Kirkhill as well as Newgie and Bear Gully. That was another interesting little trip that we had with the new rooftop tent that we purchased. Now, just because we haven't provided any footage of any camping over the past couple of years doesn't mean we haven't been to them. One of them was last summer up on the Murray. I was up over at Cobram for a few days, and then I moved to Barham, the township of Barham, on the New South Wales Victoria border. Funny story there. I was heading towards Barham. I knew Barham was in New South Wales, not Victoria. The GPS kept on telling me go through Victoria. I said, no, Barham's in New South Wales, not Victoria, I'll go through New South Wales. Well, it took me from Echuca, Moama to get to Barham to New South Wales, about 5 hours thereabouts to get through. I didn't know where I was going. Had no compass in the car. And that was a story of its own, because once I got outside Barham, my GPS died. It sounded like a missile was about to take off, and it was just a blank screen. So I had no mapping. I knew I had a map of Victoria, the Vic Country road map in my car. It's Victoria, it covers Victoria, not a problem, but it doesn't cover New South Wales. I did have an Australia booklet map, Atlas of Australia, and I thought that was in the back of the back seat of the car behind my driver's seat. That wasn't the case. Had no map. I was panicking a little bit. I wasn't sure what direction I was going, whether I was heading towards the Simpson, whether I was heading towards the tropics in the north, or heading south to Victoria, or heading east towards the mountainside, Canberra and so forth. I had no idea which direction I was heading. It was fairly arid. The landscape was fairly arid, and I was panicking a bit, but in the end I got to Barham. I got to the service station there. I was able to buy a local map which covered a small area of Barham, but it got me into Victoria. And once I got into Victoria, then my Vic Roads map of Victoria, I was able to use that to get to where I wanted to. But the funny thing was that I panicked. It was just a momentary thing that I panicked. I didn't have any maps, and I wasn't sure where I was going. I was at the service station. I calmed down, collected my thoughts, very, very collective. And I thought to myself, what can I do? And I noticed there was a reset button on the back of the GPS. So I tried resetting it, and bang, it came alive. So I had GPS again. Don't travel anywhere without a paper map and a compass. The compass is very, very important, because you can get a vague idea what direction you're going in, whether you're heading east, north, south, west. And a paper map can help you navigate, you know. Those of us that have used paper maps, paper maps, know how to use one. If you don't know how to use one, I suggest you learn how to use one, because it's really important. Don't rely solely on electronics. That can break down at any time. GPSs are great, but they're prone to failure. It was a very hot day, must have been close to 40. I got all burnt and so forth, and you know, it was a very, very, not a very nice experience. One thing I learned on the Murray and that particular area down there is that you have to have a yellow, orange, red light. Simply because just with white lights you're going to get a lot of bugs. In some areas you're not going to have it, haven't got the problem, but in the areas where you have got the problem, you need to have a different coloured light to combat the bugs. I found that with a yellow light I can't cook very well. You can't see what you're cooking, but you need a white light for that. but then you got the problem that you have bugs and things that are attracted to the white light. So I would suggest that if you're going to cook, you cook earlier in the evening before the sun goes down, before sundown. If you've got bug issues, bug problems. If you haven't got it, that's fine. You can use a white light to cook and see. You can see quite well cooking with a white light. But with a with a yellow light, you need to have a supplementary white light so you can see what you. Maybe just a small light over your cooking area, over your pan, or over your barbecue plate, whatever over your barbecue, just to see when things are turning brown or not. Otherwise, you can't tell. You're gonna burn everything or overcook things. One other thing I'd like to inform the channel is that we have invested in a rooftop tent. It's a strange feeling sleeping in one. I've never slept in one before. It is a Camp King Industries rooftop tent. They're made in Brisbane. When I was looking at rooftop tents, it was the only one I could find that was made in Australia. I couldn't find any others that were made in Australia. They're all made in South Africa and China and so forth. So I purchased a rooftop tent, the Camp King Industries rooftop tent, and they're based in Brisbane. I found the rooftop tent a little bit strange to sleep in. I spent 3 nights in that, and I spent 3 nights in that because of COVID. I didn't spend any more than that. I wasn't able to spend more than that. The first night that we tried to sleep in was at Kurth-Kiln, which is fairly close to where I live. It's only a 20-minute drive or thereabouts, 20-30-minute drive. And the first night was a bit strange. I couldn't sleep very well. If you're not used to sleeping up on the roof of a vehicle, it's a very strange feeling. I think it's because if the vehicle moves a few millimetres down low, down the bottom edge, up the top, you have a lot more swaying on the rooftop tent. And so I'm not accustomed to that. If you sleep on a swag on the ground, it's rock solid. It doesn't move. Up in the rooftop tent, you got that movement, and I wasn't used to it. I wasn't accustomed to it, and so I didn't sleep very well the first night. Anyhow, it was very quick and easy to pack up and move along, and we headed up towards Newgee to a campsite down in Newgee, some falls or something. I'll put the name down when I edit this video. And the second night, a little bit better. Got a little bit more sleep, still a bit uneasy, still wasn't quite accustomed to it yet. Very comfortable. It wasn't because of the bedding or anything like that, or it wasn't cold. It was just a different feeling to sleeping on the ground. I just wasn't accustomed to it. I was getting used to it. Well, the third day we headed to Bear Gully over on the coast, and campsite up there. And the third night I managed to get a good night's sleep. I was becoming accustomed to sleeping on the rooftop, and I managed to get a reasonable night's sleep. As you can see, under COVID, we really need a haircut. Okay. Now the Camp King Industries rooftop tent. What a wonderful piece of kit. What a wonderful tent. The canvas is absolutely fantastic. The canvas work alone, the stitching is phenomenal. It's absolutely beautiful. And comfortable to sleep in. It's all carpeted, and I'll do an episode on the Camp King Industries rooftop tent. And one thing I'm seeing is a lot of people on YouTube are using the ladders, those Chinese ladders, you know, those extendable ladders that extend, and they're using them wrong. I used it the same way when I first had it, and I took off the, I think the stainless steel cap screws that they had on the end of the on the ladder where they fit into the rooftop tent. I took them off and I put a straight bar all the way across, an all thread bar, all thread rod all the way across stainless steel, because these were, as you had them in there, were flexing. They were, and when you took the ladder off, they were all over the place. They weren't, you know. And that was because I think, one, I wasn't using the ladder correctly. One thing I wasn't doing. And two, you do get that little bit of flex with your heavy set. So I had to take that off, and I put a bar. Like I'll show you when the time comes. When I make an episode on the rooftop tent, I put an all thread rod all the way across, and that just hooks on, and that gives me a little bit more strength at those joints and not that flexing that these have, because you have a piece of steel in there, and that's what's been supported. When you put weight on it, it's going to want to flex. It's going to have that bending moment, what I call a bending moment in the steel. And you don't want that. You don't want your ladder going flexing all over the place. So we'll show that when what I've done when I do the rooftop tent. Beautiful piece of kit. Can't fault it. Another thing I wanted to talk about was what I intend on doing next. I've noticed a few things. I don't have a 12 watt. Well, I do have a 12 watt fridge, but I don't have a compressor fridge. I have a 3-way fridge. And I went camping. It worked quite well. I was over on the Murray, over at Cobram, and there was another gentleman there with his brother and his two kids. He was struggling. He was struggling with a 12 watt compression fridge. He came up from Queensland, North Queensland, Sunshine State. He had a 90 watt solar panel, and I think it might have been 100 ampere hour gel battery or deep cycle battery, and he was struggling to keep his fridge cold. And I don't know, maybe 80 watts might be okay for sunny Queensland, but it ain't okay here for Victoria. We get a lot of shade and not as much sunshine. We're not so high up on the tropics. But and it was a new caravan, and he was touring Australia, and that's what they put in there for him, 80 watt panel. You need at least 200 watts of solar panel, if not more. 300 would be better. And you're relying on weather, on climatic conditions to be right for you to be able to supply power to your fridge. With the 3-way fridge that I had, I drove to my destination. Sure, I used power from my AGM. It used 5 amps an hour. Plus my solar panels were trying to charge, which is the problem was. My solar panels were trying to charge the AGM while it was either supplying the fridge or the AGM was supplying the fridge. Now you got 2 power supplies. One's the solar panel and one's the AGM battery, but the AGM battery is also a load. So how much power is the fridge taking from the solar panels? How much power is it delivering from the battery, AGM battery? I'm driving along, and my fridge is deriving power from I don't know where, because I've got no monitoring system on my battery. I can't monitor what my battery is doing or how much power is in it, other than a voltmeter that I have in the truck.